Hello everyone and welcome to another Dark Souls 2 video. Sorry there hasn't been a video. I'd actually like to have made one a little bit sooner than this. But honestly I've just been having a lot of fun with this game, messing around, playing through, helping people, doing a little PvP. So I've actually been having more fun playing the game than making videos, so that's why there hasn't been one. But I thought I'd go ahead and show you guys something if I found anything, really awesome or really useful that I haven't seen on YouTube. And I think I found something that you'll all want to know. And that is, I found what I think is the best weapon in the game overall. And many people will argue that there's no best weapon in a Dark Souls game. And I'll have to say that there's definitely weapons that are way better than other weapons. I mean, nobody's going to argue that one sword is way better than like a broken straight sword. You can use certain builds to make a broken straight sword decent, like if you mundane infuse it or whatever, but the fact is, there's going to be some swords that are just more versatile, have a better move set, a better range, etc., are buffable, that's another thing, and so on and so forth. So I found what I think is the all-around best sword in the game. I'm holding it right now, just so you guys know. So, ever since they nerfed the Moonlight Greatsword just recently, for those of you who don't know what that is, they nerfed, I believe they said they slowed the attacks on it. I really didn't notice a difference in that, and if that was all they did, I wouldn't have cared. But they actually made it so you can no longer infuse it, or buff it, I mean, with like Crystal Magic Weapon, which arguably was pretty overpowered because it just made the magic damage output ridiculously insane. But hey, it was a great intelligence build weapon, and that kind of sucks that they can't use it anymore. I think they should have just nerfed the base like damage or the scaling on it maybe. I don't think they should have made it unbuffable though, because I think that's kind of what made it fun, was an intelligence build that used Crystal Magic Weapon could buff their intelligence based weapon. But we're not here to talk about the Moonlight Greatsword. We're here to talk about this beast of a weapon. Now this is what I'm going to call the new Moonlight Greatsword, but it goes a lot farther than that, and I'll try to cover every reason why this sword is so amazing. But for starters, I'm using the magic infuse on it. However, the first reason why it is so amazingly good is it is good with any infusion. So if you're pure melee and you're like, you don't have any intelligence, you don't have any faith, so you don't want, a lightning ruler sword, you don't want a magic one, it's good with no infusion. It is still really good with no infusion. It has CC scaling at no infusion. The stat requirements are kind of high, but they're well worth it. They're not really that high actually. They're just, you need 16 faith, you need 16 intelligence, you need 20 dex, you need 20 strength. So it's kind of like you need a little bit of everything to wield it, but it's not too high. There's no 30s, there's 35 or 40. There's nothing too high, in comparison. If you look at some of the other weapons, like, Mastodon Greatsword needs 30 strength. A lot of the Black Knight weapons need like 28 strength for the Fire Black Knight Greatsword. So in comparison, this beast needs 40 strength, but that thing's pretty good if it weren't for the fact that it's an Ultra Greatsword, which Ultra Greatswords suck, but that's another story. Anyways, if you just compare it, it still doesn't have too high requirements. They're not really low, so it's not, the requirements aren't its strongest points, but they're not, insanely high. They're definitely doable. They're definitely doable, especially since most builds are going to be a higher level in this game. They're going to have more stats to play around with. It's great for builds that use hexes or are faith-based or intelligence-based. Any of those three is great. It's also good if you're just a regular quality build that just uses strength and dex. Just get the 16 faith and intelligence to wield it, and you're good to go. Why is this sword so good? Well, its effect is attacks are boosted by souls held, which means the more souls you have on you, the more damage it does. Now I believe that damage output is capped at 1 million souls. That being said, it is not hard to get 1 million souls, and you can protect those 1 million souls by using a ring of life protection so you don't lose them on death. However, if you're PvPing, you won't need this ring, because if you die as a phantom, you don't lose your souls. So that doesn't even matter. You can carry all the souls you want and not risk it when in PvP. In PvE, just use a ring of life protection, you're good to go. So this sword is good in both PvE and PvP, which is a really strong selling point for me because I do both co-op and PvP. And when I'm co-oping, I want a good sword for, you know, boss fights and just killing normal enemies. I don't want, like, you know, katanas are often really good for PvP. The problem is they just don't have the damage output for PvE, and that kind of sucks. You know, they have like 20 durability, which also is really bad. Like, I love the washing pole. Like, I have a dark washing pole plus 10 right here, and this thing's pretty good for PvP. I won a lot of fights with it, but again, only 20 durability, so it breaks. If I'm trying to use it for co-op, it breaks before we even get to the boss. But anyway, this thing, you know, it has no downside. It really doesn't. Like, it weighs 8, which is, you know, pretty standard, same as the Moonlight Greatsword, not too heavy. There's definitely heavier weapons like the Black Knight Greatsword there. And it also, you know, it's standard durability, nothing, there's really no downside to it. So what's the damage output like? Well, here we go. We have 1,000,000 souls. We have it infused with magic. The damage output is 772. And it's fully buffable, which is the hugest thing for me. I can now buff my magic ruler sword with crystal magic weapon and make it do retarded damage. And I mean really high damage. Like, I'll show you a little bit in a couple minutes here in the video. I'll go ahead and test it on some different enemies. But keep in mind that the numbers aren't 100% accurate. They're going to be different for everything you fight, because everyone has different defenses. Certain things are good against magic, certain things, you know, have higher dark defense or fire defense or physical defense. So arguably you can't have a weapon that's good at everything, right? Well, here's the thing with the ruler sword. As I mentioned, it's good with any infusion. So we're going to go ahead and teleport to McDuff's workshop, and I'm going to show off all the infusions with this thing. And because I have 99 intelligence and 99 faith, it'll mean the dark infusion, the lightning infusion, and the magic infusion will all do the same damage output. There's no downside between the three. So if you're a faith build, this is a good sword. Slap lightning on it, hit it with a sunlight blade buff, you're good to fucking go. If you're a hex build, hit it with a, you know, what's it called, resonant weapon or dark weapon, either one. I think resonant weapon's better though. Give it the dark infusion, you're good to go. It's gonna kick ass. If you're a magic build like me, which really I'm, you know, I can use magic or miracles or hexes, but for the most part I think crystal magic weapon is the best weapon buff. That's why I went with the magic infusion. But like I said, any infusion is going to give you similar to, if not the same results as I'm going to show in this video. So let me go ahead and show you guys some of the other infusions real quick. You can give it fire even. Fire would do the same thing. As you can see, it's going to be the same with pretty much any infusion. There's no difference between them. Just whether maybe you're a pyromancer build, give it the fire infusion, you're good to go. You're a faith build, give it the lightning, you're good to go. Hex build, dark, you're good to go. Even if you're melee build, hit it with no infusion, you know. Look at the scaling. CC scaling, 280 damage output, plus, I'll show you the scaling here. I'm only at 50 strength and 50 dex, not 99. So it's not going to be as high as if I infuse it with something else. So it's only 664 with 772 with magic, which is way better. But 664 is still insane. As comparison, look at the Magic Moonlight Greatsword, only 608, and this sword is still a beast. So the ruler sword not only is better than the Magic Moonlight Greatsword, it's better than the pre-patch Magic Moonlight Greatsword, because they're both buffable. Now, so on top of all that, you know, it's good even with mundane infusion. You want to give it the mundane infusion, which that's good if you're the kind of, you want to go for a mundane build. This is not a bad option for you. You could just stack all your stats to 20s, just which is perfect because 20 is generally the accepted stat to have across the board for a mundane build. And on top of all that, you'll have the perfect requirements to wield this thing. 20 strength, 20 dex, and 16 intelligence and faith. So you're good to go. And then you can infuse it with mundane, and it's still not half bad. Like, look at this scaling. Plus 482? That's insane. It's only 622 damage output, but that is still really high. And for a mundane build, that is just really good. Like, you'd have a blast with this thing. So no matter what kind of build you're going for, this is a viable weapon. It may not be the best weapon in every scenario, but for an overall weapon that you're just looking to go towards, this thing is it, man. This thing has got it. Now there's one question I'm sure a lot of you are asking, and I've seen other people have been asking this as well, and that's, what about the moveset? That's everyone's question when talking about these swords. How good is the moveset? Well, it's a standard greatsword moveset. You know, you've got the standard light attack, one hand. The heavy attack's going to be the stab because it's not a moonlight greatsword, so it's not going to shoot the thing. But here's the cool thing: the two-handed moveset is actually really cool. Only 2 swords in the game have this moveset. This being one of them. It's got a really quick two-handed attack. Look at this. Very quick. Great attack for PvP. Many people are just going to see that you have a great sword and not really expect it. The damage is great, as I've said a million times. But the moveset is honestly one of my favorite greatsword movesets, because it's got all the good normal greatsword attacks, plus an awesome two-handed moveset. And as you can see, I'm still getting some pretty insane numbers here, and I'm not using a weapon buff. But that is where things get criminally insane. So now I'm going to go ahead and buff this thing up. You know, I'm hitting 1,000 in 2 hits. Now, I'm going to buff it and just show you guys how ridiculous this thing can get. So here we're going to hit it with the crystal magic weapon. This is where things become unreal. Let's look at these damage numbers. 700 with the... This is the light attack, by the way. Look at that. 787 with a light attack. That's crazy. That's something you would see with like a heavy attack. If that. Now, look at this. These are light attacks. Watch this combo. I killed him in 3 hits with light attacks. That's crazy. The dog, you know, 800. This is insane. When I saw these numbers, I was like amazed how good this sword was. I was expecting actually way less, you know. I knew this sword was going to be good before I even had it. I thought it was going to be a decent sword because I heard of the effect, and I was like, you know, I always have a lot of souls on me, so having a sword that, you know, goes up for each amount of souls you have, I was like, that's pretty good. But I was not expecting this. This is crazy. And oh, trust me, it's great in PvP too. So, like I said, you know, it may not be the best in every scenario. There's definitely, you know, certain builds that are going to be better with a certain weapon. But I think overall, this thing shines in more ways than any other weapon in the game. Look at these hits, like 900 with a light attack on these guys. So as I said before, the numbers are going to be different for everything you fight. So I'm just going to fight a couple things here to show you guys, you know, look at that, 987. This is so insane. Look at this, instead of 1,000. 1,187? That's crazy. I've only seen, look at these combos. This is something you would see with like backstabs, not regular attacks. Like, this is crazy. It just cuts through everything like butter. And, you know, not to mention, it is a great sword, and many people have been saying that great swords are the best, like, genre, if you will, of weapons. You know, they're the best weapon type in this game. You know, like, katanas were pretty good in the first game or whatever, but great swords really shine in this game, and I think this thing is the peak of great swords awesomeness. So here's a backstab. Look at that. 1,000 with the first hit, which means a backstab will do over 2,000 damage. Most people in PvP, that's a one-hit kill. So a backstab with this thing is going to kill anyone. Anyone. A parry with this thing is going to one-hit anyone in PvP. And this is at my level, which is like criminally insanely high level. You know, look at my stats. I'm level 568, and this thing would destroy people that are my level. And for the most part, I get matched up with people that are like level 200. If I bring this thing against them, they're not going to stand a chance. It's just that good. I can't stress it enough. Really, guys, basically, if you don't believe me how good this weapon is, experiment with it for yourself. I found, you know, I've tested so many different weapons. I didn't mention this before, but I've been looking for a good weapon that shines in pretty much every way, doesn't really have any downsides, and I think I finally found it. You know, it took me a while, but I finally found what I think is, you know, not only my favorite weapon, but one of the best weapons, if not the best weapon in the game. Ruler's Sword. If you don't know how to get it, I'm not going to really go into too much detail on that, because I don't really have, you know, this has already gotten way longer than I thought it would be. But I just wanted to cover every aspect of this thing so that you guys don't have too many questions about it. If you want to know how to obtain it, it's simple enough. It is a boss weapon. You have to kill King Vendrick, which is arguably one of the hardest bosses in the game if you don't know what you're doing. He actually has a really easy strategy to kill him. You just hang out behind his left leg and he pretty much can't hit you. You kill him, get the king's soul of the king, trade it in at the crow. I forget its name. But she trades, I believe it's a she trades boss souls for weapons, trade the soul of the king for the ruler's sword. It's the same way I got my king's shield. So now I've killed Vendrick 2 times. I have his sword and his shield, which is pretty cool. I can kind of roleplay as Vendrick because I also have the king's armor set, which is why I'm wearing it. So I'm basically, you know, I am King Vendrick. You know, hurrah! Pretty badass role-playing right there, because this, you know, it's not just for looks, you know, this is actually a really good shield as well. So, you know, this isn't a bad setup here. The armor is not the best, but hey, you can roleplay as King Vendrick and be using one of the best sword and shield combos in the game. Just for reference, I'll go ahead and show off the shield stats. Pretty much good all around. It's pretty light, and it is a regular shield, not a great shield, so that's pretty good. It's not got too high stat requirements, only 16. So basically, Vendrick's soul, you know, he gives you some pretty badass weapons to work with. But anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up here because this got way longer than I thought it would be. That is the best weapon in the game right there. The Ruler's Sword, any infusion is good. I would stay away from blood and poison because what a joke of an infusion those are. They're only good for things that already have bleed or poison on them, then you double infuse it basically. But yeah, for something like this, it's good with mundane, it's good with no infusion, it's good with magic infusion, it's good with lightning infusion, it's good with dark infusion. And that is a recipe for disaster. Good moveset, it's fully buffable, great damage. What more can I say? You know, try it out for yourself. If you're a little lost on how to obtain it, you know, just Google it. There's probably videos on it. There's Wikipedia that will tell you everything you need to know. So there it is, guys. In my opinion, because again, I need to say it is my opinion, but this is the best sword in the game for me. And that's coming from someone, you know, who's put 300 hours into this game already, level 568. So for someone at my level, I have a lot of options. You know, I didn't say this before. I have tested hundreds of weapons on this game. As you can just look through my inventory here. Look, I've got Dark Crypt Black Sword +5, Black Knight Ultra Great Sword +5. All my weapons are pretty much fully upgraded. I've been testing all kinds of things. Lightning Defender Great Sword +5. That's a great sword, but comparison, only 678 damage output. Pretty high, I'm not gonna lie. That's really good, but not buffable. That's why I don't like that sword. It's just not buffable, but it's a great sword by itself. Moonlight Greatsword, another good sword, but it's no longer buffable. You know, I've tried a lot of swords, and out of everything I tried, you know, I even have more in my item box. But Ruler's Sword, guys, best sword in the game. Try it out yourself. So until next time, hopefully I'll be able to bring you guys some other useful information on this game. But I'm gonna go do some PvP now and check out how badass this sword can get.